Hey, how's it going out there, folks? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It is Monday, March 24th, 2025, the date. 10:47 a.m., that's California time here. 3.3 earthquake down across the New Zealand area. Looks like one of the latest quakes here on the globe. Let's go ahead and check out the west coast here. Southern California is still seeing some activity around the San Andreas Fault today. A couple earthquakes lighting up here around the Southern California region. I've been watching a little swarm out here just off the San Andreas Fault near Joshua Tree National Park. I was just down here yesterday. Traveled through from Texas all the way back up home into Northern California and stayed down here for a couple hours and rested right on the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault. Man, talk about being a little nervous. But, yeah, nothing happened, but we're still looking at earthquake activity out here. One earthquake there in the last hour. That is a little 1.2. Looks like that is associated with this little smoke tree wash fault. But this swarm over here to the west, a little bit closer to the San Andreas Fault here, is the one I'm watching. A couple more earthquakes here today, a bunch from yesterday. We've got a total tally here of about 19 earthquakes. And this is just one in a series of earthquake swarms out here all across Southern California in the last several weeks. And if we even go back to the last few months there of 2024, we notice an increasing movement of earthquake activity out here. So continue to keep an eye on it. They're always seeing earthquake activity, right? That's something that is always happening. But we got to watch these swarms, increasing movement around certain areas. That could be a little sign of maybe, the San Andreas Fault here about ready to let go. That could happen at any minute. It could happen during this update. But just got to be prepared. Over around Oceanside, a couple of smaller earthquakes. Well, at least one of them, a little one-pointer. Movement along the San Jacinto Fault Zone today as well. Let's see if we got anything above 2.5. Nothing above 2.5. Looks like the closest one here, 2.9, out in Arizona near the, kind of close to the Grand Canyon. Aside from that, further up north, Bay Area looks awfully quiet here today. Nothing being reported here across the San Francisco Bay. Movement up north here. This is very typical, though. That's the geothermal fields there around Clear Lake. A lot of energy being produced there. Northern California, nothing showing up. That's been a little quiet spot here recently. Far as any earthquakes there on the Mendocino Station there in Northern California, I really don't see any. Looks pretty quiet for now. Up in Washington, a handful of earthquakes around the Cascades here near Mount Rainier. This is towards the western area here. Just outside that Volcano Park there, mostly smaller microquakes. Nothing big to report. Up here in the Seattle area, one earthquake looks like from yesterday, but over the last 7 days, there have been a handful of them out here. And if we go back the last 30 days, we had a couple different swarms out here on the western edge of the Seattle Fault and also over here to the east. Nothing big going on there for now, but that's another area that's had plenty of time to pass in terms of stress accumulation since the last big earthquake there, and that's capable of producing a mid-7 underneath Seattle. Texas oil fields still getting hit out here. Nothing new. That is the future out there in the Permian Basin area, Midland region, westward. That's just a fact. That's going to be continued there for quite a while. It does go down, though. I noticed in Oklahoma quite a few years ago. Well, not a whole bunch of years ago, but in recent terminology here, we had some larger earthquake activity, and they pretty much kind of put a halt there on the drilling operations out there. And since they did that, earthquake activity went way down because some of them were starting to get pretty big up in the upper 5 range. But they're still, pumping operations out there, still doing their thing, and they're still seeing some earthquake activity. Nothing big to report up here for now. A little swarming out there. This is just in the last 30 days, about 600 earthquakes here in this area. If we were to go back, I think in the last 2 months here, that'd probably double the number. This is out around a whole bunch of oil fields there of Amber, Oklahoma. Nothing big. These are all small microquakes, but man, that is a earthquake swarm in the oil fields there across Oklahoma. Nothing going on across the New Madrid seismic zone. Eastern portion of the country looks pretty quiet as well for now. Let's see what we got here as far as the largest activity here in the last 24 hours. That goes to, looks like a 5.2 in the Chile area from yesterday. So far today, a 5-pointer here across China. Going to be the largest earthquake just after midnight. Well, as far as after midnight time frame goes, this was at about 4 o'clock my time here in California. So a little quiet, a little suspicious. Every time I do earthquakes like this, or updates, when I had to turn that off real quick. Whenever I do updates, when there's really not a whole lot of earthquake activity in the morning, it's almost immediately following my update that a big earthquake strikes. So hopefully that's not the case. A little bit of movement here across the Indonesia Islands area. That a little 4.4, nothing big. Let's go ahead and check out, let's see, New Zealand had it, like I say, a couple threes here. Looking at some quiet activity once again in between Tonga and all along this plate boundary here to Papua New Guinea. It's been a little pattern here of that type of activity here recently. And then we go the last 30 days. Last week, well, we had a trail of earthquakes up here in the 4 and 5 range. Let me see what we got. Yeah, I guess it kind of filled in pretty nicely here in the last 30 days. Just a little quiet here the last couple days across this area, but that should fill in pretty nicely soon enough. One earthquake here off the coast of Tokyo, 4.2 from yesterday. As far as Alaska goes up here, remember that decent earthquake swarm up here near Dak? That it looks like it's calming down. Now, there's a number of volcanoes out here across the Aleutian Trench, quite a bit. But these earthquakes here, about 21 miles deep. There's a couple other ones that were deeper. This earthquake is just due north here on the map, but associated with the subduction zone that sits down south here. This is the Aleutian Trench, and that's a major subduction zone that extends from just off the coast of Russia all the way over here to about right here. So it might be a little. This is a transition fault, it looks like, from the area here to the southeast, but that's a major subduction zone, and earthquake activity here at the somewhat of a surface level. I mean, 21 miles deep, and then in the middle of all this, you get a deeper earthquake down into this region underneath this area. It may seem like it's obviously far from this area on the map, but if you can picture it, this earthquake striking deeper than these quakes here at the surface level. And that is sign of stress here along the subduction zone, not necessarily volcanic related, but the subduction zones here can increase the likelihood of seeing elevated activity there across the volcanoes. But got to watch that. I think, if anything, we'll see further larger activity in this region, because we had about 18 earthquakes here of various magnitudes, including a 6.2 right in the mix. It's not like we had a 6-pointer followed up by multiple 5.0 aftershocks. It was just a swarm of moderate quakes there, getting up into the large range. And a lot of times, similar to what happened back in Japan, 2011, we seen, a 7-pointer followed up by a bunch of 6-pointers, and then a couple weeks later, a big 9-pointer struck out there in 2011. So these subduction zones are famous for big earthquakes, very capable of producing a mega quake up here across the Aleutian Trench. And a swarm like this, these could very well be foreshocks. But today, only a 3.9 in the last 24 hours, it looks like this morning. But we'll continue to watch that, just because of that previous swarm that took place there. And it wasn't just a small microquakes, some decent magnitudes there. Aside from that, typical movement, a little bit noticeable increase here across the area of the Cook Inlet area northward up to Fairbanks. Got a little pattern stretching all the way up there. But of course, the strain out here against the Aleutian Trench accumulates or transfers the pressure into many different fault systems upstream here. And nothing big happening out here for now, but a noticeable increase here across the Aleutian Trench into Alaska recently. We'll keep an eye here along the subduction zone. Let's see, what do we got down here across the South America area? This earthquake here this morning. Make this the newest here. A little 4.7. Previous to that, a couple earthquakes here from yesterday around the Santiago, Chile area. A few small quakes here today, it looks like. So we'll kind of see what happens. Let me, this almost looks like it's past 24 hours. Or did USGS even report that super deep earthquake up here? See that deep 4.3? Go back to the last 7 days and see here. I believe it was this one. Yeah, so that was from yesterday, 5 in the morning. So the earthquake 3D globe here is a little bit past the 24-hour map. Yeah, there we go. That should be about it, right? Well, no, take that back. That's interesting. 1243. Huh. Looks like there's a issue here with the time on this earthquake here from yesterday, which isn't quite past the 24-hour threshold. But what's weird is they have this earthquake up here newer than this one. So I don't know. I try to keep the map here, or at least the globe, not too cluttered. I try to keep it right around the 24-hour threshold. And, well, we'll just kind of leave it like that. Pretty good cluster going on here across the Java Trench, Indonesia islands area, Philippines. A noticeable increase here in the 3 and 4 range. Not necessarily shown up here on the USGS map in this area, but the larger quakes there showing up in the 4 and 5 range outside of Port Blair, India. That's well south there of the Port Blair area. But yeah, that's definitely active. We'll keep an eye on this region. There's that seismic gap zone that should fill in today. The Atlantic Ocean pretty quiet. Not a whole lot going on. Pretty active here across the Mediterranean and the Middle East area. Got a little swarm going on here across the region. So let's go see what we got. Iran, I think, is showing some movement. I believe that's where that swarm activity is stirring up there with the 4.9 today and a handful of other quakes in that region. Could be aftershock activity, I suppose, following the original 4.9. Santorini area of Greece, just check that. Got still seeing some earthquake movement here. This Santorini area, Colombo, and then you got that earthquake swarm here that it's slowly going down, but it has not died off completely here. Got about 218 earthquakes in the last week of various magnitudes, including the last one. It looks like a 1.5. Bunch of ones, bunch of twos. Still some movement over here around the Santorini caldera area. After thousands and thousands of earthquakes here with no, the cause and effect, right? We have the cause, but the effect is still kind of waiting. Whether that's going to turn into a something bigger or not, that we'll have to watch that and see how it plays out. Let me check out the recorded view here from the Greece area, University of Athens there, Department of Geophysics. Santorini area back down here. We'll check right there in the center caldera and see what this looks like. There's still quite a few earthquakes happening. Quite a bit. Not, like I say, not anything like we had here few weeks back when there was so many earthquakes you couldn't even see these seismograph lines here. And we had big ones, 4s and 5s. So it's calming down, but it has not died off completely. So this is still active. And it could be leading up to something of some interesting activity. You just never know. It could be a larger event, or it could just be some type of volcanic activity we're looking at. Either way, it's kind of a big deal. Let's go check out Iceland here real quick, see what we got going on. In the last 24 hours, got about, 98 earthquakes or so. A little bit down here across the Grindavik area. And the Reykjanes region, I don't think we're looking at any eruptive activity yet. Haven't checked this in the past week since I've been out on the road. But there's a little bit of activity around the craters region. Let's see if I can pull up the news agency here. March 18th, this was put out a few days ago here. No signs of subsidence around the Svartsengi area. So we just still got some earthquake activity and obviously inflation, right? Let's go check out the inflation there across the area. Here's the Santorini region. We're still going up since our last eruption, which ended back in late 2024. So we're going up and up and up. We should see something here soon, because this level that we're observing right now is way higher than previous eruption levels. So this next eruption could be something spectacular of nature, or it could cause a magma intrusion somewhere else. With that buildup of pressure, we could see some migration of magma somewhere where we haven't seen the our past few eruptions there across Iceland. All right, space weather activity. Well, they keep going up and down on the aurora forecast. Really nothing of any noteworthy value here. They were calling for a G3 class storm. I think it was not last night, but the night before. That missed us. But they're still calling for what looks like maybe a little bit of unsettled conditions here over the next couple nights. Not really expecting much, though, folks. We haven't had any major CMEs Earth-directed. We have a coronal hole, number 25. And on the latest visible imagery here, it's a massive area. Most of it southward pointing with this huge coronal hole there on the sun. But we do have this one right here that's aimed directly at us. Center disk. I don't think you can get any more center than what this is looking like. So this area should amplify a little bit more than what we're seeing right now here in about 72 hours once the arrival of the high-speed solar wind stream reaches Earth. But I don't think we're going to see anything until then, probably after 48 hours, depending on the speed of that coronal hole wind stream. We could see things amplified. We'll check back on that, though, around that time frame. Nothing major going on in the solar flare department. We do have a number of sunspots out here on the Earth-facing side of the sun. But let's see what we got as far as any magnetic structure. Wow, this is not looking good if you like solar flares. This is pretty much wow. I don't even know what to say. This one's departing the Earth-facing side. We do have one over here on the northeastern limb of the sun. Really not all that impressed with that one. Not impressed with that one at all. It is a little bright over here, but again, the magnetic structure, it just doesn't look all that complex. So solar flare threat will remain lowered. I'm issuing a 1% chance or less for next flare. These guys showing about a 30% chance. That's probably about right. But don't expect much there in terms of any strong solar flares. It's just not looking like it's going to happen right now. We'll check the far side, see if anything's going on. There's that newer sunspot, but this is on the 23rd. This is from yesterday. So now we have that sunspot, that one I just showed you. It's more over here on the eastern limb of the sun. Not really impressed with it, though. A couple other ones. Then after that, looks like some very quiet conditions prevailing as far as any solar flare activity goes. We'll watch and wait for these, see if there's anything of any flare-worthy value in the coming days. Storm Prediction Center, man, I've seen some large hail out there that was reported yesterday. I believe it was in Texas, like Caryville, I think is the name. This is all hail. I think it was down in Texas. There's a bunch here in Texas. I guess they had tennis ball size hail. Either way, that was a big day for some hail down there. That'd do some damage. A lot of hail reports. 103 reports there in the green, all across those storm areas. 2 tornado reports, but mostly hail. As far as today's activity goes, let's see what we got. Current day 1 outlook, just marginal risk here for some severe weather across the extreme south. A little 2% chance for some tornado wind, and not so much hail activity for now. And a glance here at the numerical weather models as we put this into motion here. Got some moisture funneling up into Texas. Looks like some Gulf moisture coming in there to Texas area. California, we got some series of storm systems out there aimed at California, and we're going to get a lot of moisture coming up. This is storm after storm. Look at that. That's quite rare for us to have that type of moisture there in April. For us, April out here across southern plains in the south, you start getting all the thunderstorms and severe weather, and then it works its way northward throughout the summer. But April, normally we dry out and we're in the 80s and maybe even the 90s by that time period there in April. But hey, I'm not going to complain. The more rain we have, the greener it will be out here, and I'm loving it. Total tally here, potential for total accumulated precipitation runs. It doesn't go all the way out there because these are just the newer model. But if we go back one more, I'll show you guys real quick the estimated totals here for the West Coast. That is a lot of moisture out here for Northern California. Southern California, not so much. But driving through here, Southern California, it's pretty green. Pretty green once you get over the Grapevine there into Bakersfield and all that area there in the southern end of the San Joaquin Valley. You got a lot of rain here. It's pretty green out there. Here in Northern California, definitely green. Got a lot of rain so far this year, and I'm very thankful for it, let me tell you. And any more that adds onto it is just, it's kind of like some extra frosting there on your cake or on your cupcake, whatever. All right, what else we got here, folks? Man, I got some decent sleep last night after, very minimal sleep. So I'm very thankful. I got a good night's sleep. Good to be back home. I think I'm going to fly out here next time. It's just too long of a drive. It's all right if you take your time and stay a night here, stay a night there, stay a night there. But 5 days. It's a long stretch, a lot of highway out there, so I kind of pushed through it yesterday and the day before. All right, folks, I'm out of here. Have yourself a good day. Seismograph stations out there look quiet for now, but I wouldn't doubt it here. I'm probably going to jinx myself, but I wouldn't doubt if we start seeing a bigger earthquake here sometime soon. It's awfully quiet there. Like I said, the largest earthquake here so far today. That goes to a 5-pointer, and that was at 4 o'clock this morning. That's a little odd. Kind of a quiet day. But keep an eye there on Southern California. Anything could happen at any given time here. Look at this trail of earthquakes here across Las Vegas. There's a lot going on. A lot of pressurization here on the plate boundary. All right, folks. Have a good day. We'll catch you guys out here a little bit later on.